Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host Kevin. This week we'll be discussing the 1978 horror comedy classic Piranha, starring an all-star cast: Bradford Dillman, Heather Menzies-Urich, Keenan Wynn, Kevin McCarthy. The list goes on and on. You know them, don't you? For those of you joining us for the first time, each week on the B Movie Club, I'll discuss a certain guilty pleasure, forgotten classic from the past, and I'll talk about it on the show. You can reach me through our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the big thumbs up. Also, you can subscribe to our page on YouTube. That's Kevin D. Okay, subscribe. It's totally free. Also, you can reach me on Twitter at KD9575. Feel free to spread the word, tell a friend, tell a stranger. Piranha. In this movie, there was an abandoned military project to raise a super aggressive breed of piranha that could live not only in cold or fresh water, but it could also live in salt water. The idea being that this piranha would have some military application during Vietnam. I guess they would airlift a flock, a pod, a school of piranha to Vietnam, and I guess dump them in the local rivers, and that would turn the tide of the war, I guess, theoretically. A boyfriend-girlfriend were looking for a place to camp, and they stumbled upon the abandoned military complex. They snuck in, looking for a late night swim, evidently, even though, again, there was just a lake nearby. They find a pool area, and they said, hey, why don't we swim here? At one point, the boyfriend says, hey, how do we know this isn't a sewage treatment plant? A good question, I'd say, before his girlfriend pushes him into the water and they go swimming. And the rest is history. We don't see them again. Later, a skip tracer, kind of a bounty hunter, looking for the missing teenagers, shows up on the scene, and she goes and talks to the local drunk. She's going door to door, I guess, cabin to cabin, shack to shack. He agrees to help her look for the teenagers. They discover also the abandoned military complex and see the pool. They find the backpacks and decide the only way to get to the bottom of this is to drain the pool and see maybe their bodies are at the bottom, give or take. They start to do this when a crazed guy comes out of one of the back rooms and attacks them. They kind of beat him up and, drain the pool. Later, they discover to their chagrin that by draining the pool, they flushed the highly aggressive piranha into the local river, where there is like a summer camp just downstream. Also, a local resort is further downstream. It's a sad situation. The crazy old man was the scientist working on the project, and he wasn't that crazy. He was trying to stop them from releasing the piranha. So there you have it. So they're going down there to, I don't know what their plan is at this point. They're basically going down the river like Huckleberry Finn on some kind of crazy rope, log raft thing. Along the way, another crazy old drunken fisherman. He's literally sitting on the edge of his dock, feet dangling into the water, fishing. His trusty dog Brandy barking nearby. They come across him after the piranhas have gotten at him, and literally from his knees down, it's just, there's nothing. The piranhas ate him up. I mean, if your feet are dangling in the water, keep in mind a piranha's about this big, okay? If it's 6 inches, it's a big one. We're just talking about piranha here, people, ladies and gentlemen. You figure the first nibble, you're going to go, ooh, that hurts. Let me get my feet out of the water. Not this guy, evidently. Later, they rescue a guy whose canoe was attacked by the piranha. The little boy, his father, got eaten by the piranhas. They saved him. crazy old man, in a moment of heroism, jumped in to save the boy. There goes the crazy old man. The crazy drunk, we discover, is really kind of a conscientious... There's a lot of crazy drunks in this. The drunk that she goes, who's helping her, as opposed to the drunken fisherman and the crazy old man. See, it gets complicated, okay? We discover that his daughter, his estranged daughter, who's I guess like 8 or 9, is attending the summer camp, and all the kids are swimming in the water. They have inner tubes. They're splashing around, and here come the piranhas. It's a bad scene. Most of the people escape. One of the camp counselors, sadly, she gets dragged off by the piranha. They try to stop a dam, because a dam every now and again will release some water for some reason, release some of the pressure. They stop that, but unfortunately there's another tributary to the stream that the piranha are able to follow to get to the resort. And I use that word very loosely. Meanwhile, the military is now back on the scene, trying to stop it. They're going to pour poison into the water. That doesn't work. Meanwhile, at the resort, they're calling the resort, hey, you got to get those people out of the water. There's piranha coming. I know we're in the Pacific Northwest. I know it's mountainy and it's cold out. It's actually not Pacific Northwest. It's Texas. Okay, it's Texas. But nonetheless, piranha are not indigenous to Texas. So needless to say, they go, leave us alone, you crazy old drunk. So people are splashing around, having a grand old time. And then, of course, the piranha arrive, and it's rough. There's a guy water skiing. There are people scuba diving. There's all sorts of water activities, if you will. Keeping in mind this is a river and not a huge... It's not one of the Great Lakes, okay? It's literally like 30 feet across. Yet when the piranha arrive, people are not able to get out of the water quick enough. They're quick, see? Even though they're little, they're quick and can get at you. Eventually, the crazy old drunk, the friendly one, and the skip tracer, they come up with a plan that the last thing they can do before the piranha will actually get out into the ocean, and then who knows what will happen then. We're going to go down and release some toxic waste into the water, and hopefully that'll kill the piranha, as well as, ruin the water stream and people's drinking water, friendly indigenous life. Say goodbye to that as well. His plan is literally like, tie this rope around my waist. I'll swim down to the smelting, whatever it is, or some kind of metallurgy place, but it's submerged underwater for some reason. I'll swim to the bottom there. I'll open up the pipe, count to 100, and then pull me out, kind of thing, because eventually the piranha's going to get at me, and I can hold my breath for 100 seconds, evidently. So he starts to do it. Piranha start getting at him. He's able to do it. She counts to 100. She pulls him out. Saves the day, I guess. It's kind of left sketchy. They talk to one of another evil scientist who's working with the military. He kind of faces the camera going, the threat should be all taken care of. And then you hear like the telltale sign of the piranha saying that, well, maybe they're still out there, okay? So that is Piranha, 1978 classic. Originally, it was meant to be kind of a rip-off of Jaws, as you might imagine. Jaws comes out, it's a huge hit, and over the next several years, a number of other kind of rip-off movies dealing with some wild animals on the loose, and, the campers, or the beachgoers, or whatever is under attack. They had the grizzlies, they had tentacles, which I guess was a giant octopus, piranha, obviously. It came out about the same time as Jaws 2, because it took them that much time to kind of get their funding together and put it all together. And they were actually getting sued by the production company for Jaws 2 until Steven Spielberg, there you go, he went and watched this movie and he loved it. He's quoted as saying it's the best of the Jaws ripoffs, and he actually told the production company not to sue him and let him go forward. So there you have it. So now we have this classic. That was produced by Roger Corman, who was famous for his B-horror movies throughout that period. they did a lot of, there was a much more successful version of this movie, such as Jaws, and we're going to kind of release a watered-down rip-off version of it a couple years later and try to get a little, dip our toe in the water, if you will. And it was directed by Joe Dante, who actually went on to do The Howling a few years later, and Gremlins, so a couple of our favorites. So there you have it. I listed a bunch of celebrities who are in this. Bradford Gilman plays Grogan, who is the friendly crazy drunk. You might remember him, he was in Dirty Harry, and he's actually like a good actor. At one point he was reading the script, he actually went and complained to the writer, the screenwriter, and said, why is this character so two-dimensional? He said, well, because usually in these movies we hire horrible actors, so there's no point in giving them this fleshed out character because they suck anyway. But since you're a good actor, I'll give you more of a backstory. Like you find out, yes, he's a crazy old drunk, but it's because his wife left him and he's estranged from his daughter and all this other stuff. So there you have that. So that's important. Just because it's Piranha doesn't mean, it can't have some pathos, some emotion, if you will. One thing about this movie, if you watch movies like Jaws, at some point you're going to see the big fish come out and get you. In this movie, it's kind of anticlimactic in the sense that, again, they're only this big. Now there's a lot of them, so there's a lot of like these kind of shadowy, they show like a shadow of like 3 fish coming by, you know what I mean? But it really doesn't give you that, oh my God, what am I going to do? There's a big fish. Instead, there's a lot of little ones. And they simulated the piranha attack scene is they literally stuck a rubber fish onto a stick and did this under the water. So there you have that. At one point, the camp counselor who gets killed by the piranha, they literally tied a rope around her legs and had like a boat pull her. So you see her kind of getting pulled under the water. That's what they were going for. So nothing but the best. It was filmed over the course of 30 days, and it cost about $600,000 to make. So hardly a king's ransom. They did go on to have a sequel a couple years later, Piranha 2: The Spawning, where in this one the piranha fly. James Cameron is actually listed as the director. This was his first directing credit. This actually was before even Terminator. Realistically, though, he didn't really shot it. I think he was hired to do it and then was fired. There's a whole thing. It's all politics, when you're involved with Piranha 2: The Spawning. Okay? They remade Piranha in 1995 for a Showtime movie. Then, more recently, they remade it again. It takes place in Lake Havasu, and there's a prehistoric piranha coming out of like an underground cave. I was talking to my buddy Tori about how the opening scene with Richard Dreyfuss, yeah, exactly. Richard Dreyfuss is in the remake of Piranha. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Richard Dreyfuss, as we know, was in the original Jaws. So there you go. It all comes full circle here. The remake of Piranha actually also spawned a sequel called like Piranha 3 Double D, something like that, something very inappropriate. So there you have that. I actually did some research on the piranhas. There's a legend of them kind of eating people up, but really it doesn't happen very often because they're about this big. Okay? What else can I tell you about this movie? Henry Fonda was originally offered the role of Grogan, our friendly, drunken, crazy person, and shockingly enough, he turned it down. I know. Can't believe it, right? I mean, did they try Charlton Heston? I'm sure he was available. The special effects were done for a cost of about $30,000, and they hired 17-year-old Rob Bottin to do the special effects after Rick Baker, who was also a famous special effect horror guy, was unavailable. So 17-year-old Rob Bottin did this. You remember him? He did such things as The Thing. Yeah, he's very famous. Very famous. Did a lot of good stuff. But again, 17-year-old turning over the car keys. So there you have it. That is Piranha. It currently has a 78% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It sounds ridiculous, and it is, but a lot of it's done very tongue-in-cheek, as you might imagine. Bad guys fall in with the piranhas, for the most part, the good guys go on to live another day. So you have it. If you haven't seen it, I kind of recommend it. It's definitely worth a view. Okay, it's quality 1978 horror comedy at its finest. Okay, it is still streaming instantly on Netflix, so you can rush out and see it that way. Please send me in your questions, comments, favorite scenes, or favorite quotes, and I'd love to get a little feedback from you, if you will. Another thing, recently, or I should say over the course of the show, I've kind of used a lot of different theme music for our opening credit sequence. YouTube is kind of laying the hammer on me. Evidently, they don't want me to use the classics anymore. So if you have, or if you know of anybody who'd like to come up with an original jingle, score, if you will, for our show, I will use it and I'll give credit to that person. All I'm looking for is an instrumental about 45 seconds long, something that really encapsulates what we're trying to do here at the B Movie Club. Okay, so if you know of anybody, or if you have something, an original piece, please let me know and we'll definitely use it. Beggars can't be choosers. Next week, we're going to be going back to the comedy genre. We're going to be doing the 1985 comedy classic, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, starring Matthew Broderick. And that's a lot about it. I mean, there's other people you might recognize. I know Charlie Sheen makes a little appearance. Jennifer Grey is in it. It's an all-star cast. What can I tell you? So Ferris Bueller's Day Off is also streaming instantly on Netflix. So watch it, check it out, and let me know what you think. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And here it is. Terror, horror, death. Film at 11. So there it is. Piranha. Thank you for joining us. Next week we'll be doing Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Send me your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, any comments, questions. Don't forget to go on to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club, and like it. Don't forget to subscribe on our page on YouTube. And feel free to drop me a line at Twitter at KD9575. Be well.